talking to other people wasn't allowed.
Michael Jackson may have been everyone's smooth criminal, but he was Mariah Carey's hero. It all happened when Mariah was going through one of the darkest times in her life, and MJ was the only person she had in her corner. And you're not going to believe how he helped her navigate through the problems she had. So, without wasting any more time, let's get right into it. Outside of music, Michael and Mariah had a close personal relationship. So when Mariah was going through her divorce from Tommy Mottola, Michael was one of the few people she confided in. You see, Mariah has been in 2 high-profile marriages, but her first marriage to Tommy was when Michael was Mariah's knight in shining armor. It started back in 1988. At the time, Mariah was only 18 years old and working to become the music star that she is today. Then, one of Mariah's demo tapes found its way to Tommy when he was the head of Columbia Records. And after listening to the demo tape, he decided that he was going to find Mariah and sign her to his record label. Eventually, he found her, and from the get-go, it seemed like there was a spark between them, which was a little bit weird at the time because Tommy and Mariah had a 20-year age gap. To make things worse, Tommy was also married to another woman, Lisa Clark, but that was not going to stop Mariah and Tommy. 2 years after they met, he got her a music contract, but he didn't stop there. He also divorced Lisa after they had been together for almost as long as Mariah had been alive. And after divorcing Lisa, Tommy and Mariah started dating publicly. After dating for a few years, they decided to get married in 1993. It was a lavish wedding. Mariah's wedding dress was inspired by the one worn by Princess Diana. But after the wedding, it seemed like everything that could go wrong started going wrong. In one interview, Mariah talked about her honeymoon, and it wasn't a pleasant memory. She recounted how no one saw her during her honeymoon when she was running on the beach crying her eyes out. Apparently, this happened because Tommy had done something so horrible to Mariah that it left her feeling so miserable that she started crying while she was on the beach. And after the honeymoon ended, it only got worse. According to Mariah, Tommy was very controlling, and that's just putting it lightly. And he wasn't just controlling when it came to Mariah's music. He allegedly tried to control every single aspect of her life. The only people that she could talk with were people that Tommy knew. And it didn't stop at just knowing them. He also had to have some form of control over the people he allowed Mariah to talk to. I don't know about you, but it's easy to see how suffocating this would have been for pretty much anyone, let alone a 23-year-old superstar with millions of records sold and every bit a celebrity as the biggest hitters in the music industry. Yet, despite all of that money and fame, she had no freedom. She could barely make decisions for herself. According to Mariah, Tommy had her followed whenever she stepped out, and he even had her phone tapped. Basically, Tommy made sure that Mariah had no privacy whatsoever. Mariah also recalled the time she tried to go out with rapper Da Brat. They were working on the remix of Always Be My Baby, and after a while, they decided to go get something to eat. After all, it's normal for people working together to head out and get something to eat. But for some reason, Tommy decided to make a big deal out of Mariah leaving the house. Looking back, Mariah said that she can laugh about it now, but back then, it was a very serious issue. You would think that the marriage couldn't get any worse than that, but you would be so wrong. According to Mamma Mia, Mariah wasn't really getting anything from her marriage to Tommy. Later on, she confessed that her marriage with him wasn't that intimate. It makes you wonder what he actually had going for him. But then again, it all started when Mariah was 18 and Tommy was 38 years old. He was probably able to charm her because she was so young when they met. Looking back, Mariah said that she still has nightmares about that time of her life. But while she was going through all of this, the person that she confided in was Michael Jackson. And from the looks of things, he really helped her get through the toughest times of her life. Even when Mariah was interviewed about Michael, she called her relationship with him an emotional one. And when she was asked to talk about a memorable time she had with MJ, she started getting emotional. And before she knew it, she was talking about how hard it was for her to perform at his funeral. But just being a shoulder to cry on and giving advice was not all Michael did for Mariah concerning Tommy. He also called out Tommy for how he treated her when he was having an all-out war with Sony. At the time, Tommy was the CEO of Sony and Michael had just dropped his Invincible album. Well, the album didn't do as well as he and Sony expected, and Michael blamed Sony because they did not spend as much on marketing as they could have to make the album a mega hit. He had apparently asked for more money for marketing, but Tommy had told him no. So when the album didn't do as well as it could have, Michael snapped and decided to let out all the frustrations he had with Sony. He started with Sony and Tommy controlling his artistic direction and which way his music should go. He then also accused Tommy of not liking liking people who did not have the same skin color as him. Michael was not the only person to accuse Tommy of something like this. Even Mariah later came out to say the same thing. MJ held a campaign against Tommy, and when he talked about how much of a bad person Tommy was, he also let slip what Mariah had told him about Tommy. Apparently, even after all that happened while they were still married, Tommy wasn't ready to let her go. Even after the divorce, he still had people follow Mariah. When she realized this, she went to Michael crying about how much of a bad person Tommy was, even going as far as calling him evil for how he treated her. But despite everything Mariah had to go through, she found a way to bounce back and get into other relationships. After her divorce from Tommy, she was in a relationship with a Mexican singer, Luis Miguel. The relationship lasted for 3 years before they called it quits. After Luis, Mariah's next serious and public relationship was with Nick Cannon. Word of them being together started spreading in 2008 when they were in a music video together. Not too long after that, Mariah and Nick had a secret wedding that very same year. 3 years after they tied the knot, they welcomed their twins, Moroccan and Monroe. But the marriage would only last 6 years because in 2014, Mariah and Nick filed for a divorce. Although recently, Nick openly admitted that he wouldn't mind getting back together with her. But it doesn't look like that's gonna happen anytime soon. Even Nick said that it probably wouldn't happen from Mariah's end. After the two of them split up, Mariah continued dating other people. Until late last year, she was in a relationship with Brian Tanaka. Brian and Mariah had been on and off since 2016, but it looks like they are finally done for good now. So right now, Mariah is most likely single, and it's anyone's guess what's next for her. But what do you guys think? Did you know about Mariah and Michael's touching friendship? And do you think Mariah will be able to find lasting love? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below.